He'd been living there for a while, but he realized there's nothing there. There's no service. There's no water. Yeah, they were living in absolute squalor. And he said, look, let's go to America where at least we have a roof over our heads and warmth. And by the way, our kids get education. Good education. And that's why they came. And this guy was a hardcore Minuteman. This guy, he went armed to the teeth to the border and said, get the hell out of my country to people who were crossing. And it changed his mind. He's like, oh my God. Because he was having a hard time thinking and adjusting to these, this idea of people. And he realized he's Cuban American, right? He's not Mexican. He doesn't share the same feeling of heritage as with these people from Mexico. And also, because also you got to realize, Mexicans, they can be racist too. They look down on the Indians, and especially the half Indian, the really half Indian people. So, yeah, the darker your skin in Mexico, like the less you look down, or the more you look down on. So that's and it's even up here that you hear about it. Some families, the lighter skinned spouse and the darker skinned spouse, and they come up here. They live up in California in America because, yeah, they're not too approved by their family or even by society down there. So but here, they're treated as somewhat equals. So yeah, they're behind their backs. They're called dirty Mexicans, whatever. But at least they're not to their face, and they're not treated poorly. They're not forced to live in whatever neighborhoods. So, but that's just my thing. Is that and it was hard for me to really decide, well, where do I stand on this? I feel this urge to say, yeah, we don't need, or we need illegal immigrants out of this country. But at the same time, it nagged in the back of my mind, why? Why do I need to feel this way? What's the purpose? And I think that, there's a certain there's a certain feeling inside of all of us that, this is mine, I don't want anybody to take it. But at the same time, it was understood by our founding fathers that, it's mine, but at the same time, I want the chance for other people to take it. Because what they were realizing by this point, and I think this is part of what the founding fathers were realizing, is that, in Europe, there are just so many people who are displaced, and they can't claim anything. Let's give people this idea, and this is kind of how they sold America, the United States, is that, look, you can claim something here. You can hold on to something and call it your own, and it won't be taken away from you. And that's that's America. That's the idea of America. That's the American dream. I think in reality is that you can hold on to something and say, this is mine. I can own this, and the government will support that too. So that's why courts. We're all big about courts, and we have all these court cases. But yeah, that's good. Let's have that, and because then we have freedom on top of that. We have insecurity as well. So yeah, let's have that. But don't deny it to people who want it as well. If people want to come here and live that way too, let them. We can absorb them into our community. Do you realize how many people are yearly brought from Vietnam into the United States? It's a staggering number of people. It's got to be well over 5,000. I forget the numbers exactly, and because this was talked about a while ago. But yeah, there's thousands of people a year brought from Vietnam, in particular Montagnards, who are like these Aboriginal people who help the U.S. service members, and they're brought over, and a lot of them settle in like Texas, down along the coastline, and also over by Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And the reason why is because the U.S. military worked with them, got them to help as to be fighters against the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese armies. And when the American army fled, they left all the people behind. Some of them were thrown in prison, jailed, killed outright, all because they were supporting this one thing, which was a different way of life, different lifestyle. And they're killed for that. And even though there's nowhere for them to go to. That's something else to realize, is that here in America, you can go anywhere you want. You're not chained down. God, do you realize other places you have to report in when you move? You have to report, to local police, stuff like that, saying, oh, hello, I'm this individual. I'm living in this community now. And they'll ask you questions about, who you are, what you do, this and that. So, cherish our freedoms. But back to Iraq is that I feel get rid of the contractors, Army Corps of Engineers, all the way, and employ the Iraqi people. And if there's an Iraqi business, that if a business steps up, and I think we've really hurt Iraq in that we dismissed a lot of these businesses who had been operating, who had been organized. They were supporting the country, and we just didn't give them contracts. So a lot of them have fallen apart. They don't exist anymore. And I think what this one guy said was a great idea. He said, we have to support the Bank of Iraq. If you support a bank, banking means that you can put money away, you can save money, you don't have to bury it. You can also have employees with the bank. That's the purpose of a bank, because local businesses, they can't hold on to cash if they're afraid that, you have to carry the cash with you all the time, and especially large sums of cash. You have to have banks to basically hold on to that cash, to protect it. The government has to protect it. So maybe that's another way to go about it. Just build a bunch of banks. The new Iraq bank. Have a government sponsored, put American soldiers, make the banks bunkers with, snipers and machine gun nests on top, and put Americans, guarding them too, which will really scare and throw off people. But at the same time, the Iraqi people, they fear Americans. They fear what Americans can do, because they know Americans can kill them, and that's why they don't really target Americans anymore. There's this thing going on. They'll carry on violence, but they don't target Americans, and the reason why is because they know if you take off the Americans will just come back with a vengeance, and they'll blow everything away. The Americans know they'll kill you, and that's what it really. Let's not mess with these guys, because they'll really destroy all of us. So they'd rather fight each other because there's less casualties. But I think that would work. I think that'd be a good way to go. Make the Iraqis work. Don't give business to some whatever American company. That was a really bad way to go. And the reason why is because people will respond to fear and greed. And you know what? If you're not satisfying the greed, then they're going to become fearful of something. So, there's when you remove a head of power, you're going to have a power vacuum. People are going to want power, and people are going to use whatever excuse to kill each other. People they have grievances with, beefs with, and you gotta have a good police force. But what if the police force is made up of different guys and you got militias? But anyways, if you satisfy that greed, if you say, hey, we will give you access to wealth, people will fall right in line. They'll they will order themselves because realize I'd rather live and make money than die and be whatever. And that's my opinion. In my opinion, that's what needs to be done. We need to, this change in leadership needs to be done, and just appoint some government officials, but some smart guys. Get like Fareed Zarqawi, and there's a couple other guys, but there's guys that they go on the Daily Show, on Nightline, on even Real Time with Bill Maher. These very intelligent guys. They're authors, but you know what? I bet if you get them to co-chair some operations, I bet that would really, they would probably do a good job, and they realize, they have an opportunity here. Some of them, they do speak the language. Get those people involved. Get people who speak the language involved. But get people who are responsible and capable. Get American citizens who have Iraqi backgrounds to act as liaisons. Send those people over. That will win over more brownie points than anything else. Don't send a white guy. Send a guy who looks like the people, who speaks the language, who understands them. That's Iraq has been a fiasco diplomacy-wise. America should always have the best diplomacy in the world, and the reason why is because we have everybody from the world here. There should always if we go into any country, we should have somebody who can claim some ancestry to that country, or at least can speak the language or can learn the language, but especially somebody who can really establish rapport with the local communities. There should have been a military governor, watching over Iraq and just basically